How's everyone doing out there today? So I requested Coronas and margaritas to kind of loosen you guys up, but I guess they didn't get the memo. So my name is Kim Gamez, and I'm the CEO and founder of Padrino. I'm here just to kind of tell you more about my entrepreneurial story, not necessarily about my business. So my story started back in beauty school, of all things. I was doing a perm rod, permanent on this little old lady. And I was, in daydreaming mode, and I realized, I don't think I want to stand behind the chair and make money for someone else. I should go back to school and make my own money doing hair. And so my parents are entrepreneurs, and I guess I just don't know the life of working for someone else. So I enrolled into business school. And in business school, I met this gentleman by the name of Hugo. Now, Hugo plays a big role in my story, and I'll tell you why. So Hugo was born and raised in San Luis Potosi, Mexico. And his family had ran out of money when he was going into medical school. And so he moved up to the States to put the rest of his brothers and sisters through school. And he was honestly the first person that introduced me to the Hispanic culture and this giving to others when there literally sometimes is little to give in your own home. And I just really, with him, started just falling in love with the culture. And so that you'll see at the end of my story why that plays such a big, important role. So a couple years later, I married my own Latino man, and he convinced me to open a restaurant. Now, mind you, we're from Jackson. Is there anybody from Jackson here? Probably not. Woohoo! There's like 3 of us. Okay, woohoo! So we opened the Crazy Cowboy in Jackson. And that right after we bought the restaurant, I found out I was pregnant with our son. Mind you, I was 20 years old. I had just opened a restaurant, had absolutely no idea how to run a business, no idea how to be a mom, and I was still trying to figure out how to be a wife. But I listened to myself, my own intuition, listened to my customers, loved on my staff, and we figured it out. A couple years after that, we were successful in the restaurant business, and I wanted to follow my parents' footsteps. They were in the real estate business. So we started buying rental properties. And at that same time, we welcomed our second son, Max, into our family. Now, it was, 2009. We had been at the restaurant business for a while. We thought, let's do it again. Let's open another restaurant. That's a great idea. No, it's not a good idea. I forgot I had slides. Because can you imagine? I have kids and restaurants and everything now. I've lost my mind. So I have these 2 restaurants. The second restaurant had a banquet facility. So it was really like 3 or 4 businesses. And then, right after our closing, guess what? I was pregnant with our daughter, Penelope. So now we have 3 businesses and 3 babies. I know, I literally lost it. We were going along for about 4 years, and I lost my father. And my world I could only really organize my life with the businesses and the babies because I was in sync with life. But when I lost my dad, I fell out of sync. I fell out of love with the businesses. I felt like I wasn't being a good mom. I wasn't being a good wife. And so I told my husband, I said, honey, we got to do something. And he said, you know what, let's sell the second restaurant and banquet facility. And then we could just, kind of focus on our family and everything. Well, that didn't last long at all. He thought it'd be a good idea after we sold that, to invest in an apartment complex. Yeah. If you can be a restaurant owner and you can be a landlord, you can do just about anything, I found out. Months after we bought that apartment complex, I had my daughter, Gabby. I know what you're thinking. 4 babies, 4 businesses. It's not the model that I would recommend for anyone out there, but it's worked for us. So back in 2016, again, my husband is Latino, and I absolutely love every part of the Hispanic culture and their traditions. It might be the food, the dancing, or possibly the tequila. Mind you, I have 4 babies. I know what tequila is. Maybe too much, that's why I have 4 babies. But anyway, sorry. So, where was I going with this? Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so I actually love this part of the tradition or the culture that's the Padrino tradition. So, your Spanish lesson for the day. Padrino is a Spanish term for sponsor, and it's typically friends and family that help pay for different items of an event. And so, if you think about like a Hispanic wedding, for example, a bride and groom will reach out to all of their loved ones, their cousins, aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters, to help pay for things like her dress, the venue, the bar, the band, you name it, they have padrinos for it. I love this part of the tradition because everyone's coming in for the main cause and putting on these great events. But I hated the process. Families were handwriting lists, and padrinos were giving cash or checks. And if you can imagine, I'm a busy mother and entrepreneur. Whenever I was asked to be padrinos with my husband, I always just wanted to give him a credit card or say, how do I wire you money? As an outsider, I saw this as a problem. But as a savvy entrepreneur, I knew I could create a solution. So we created Mi Padrino. So why am I here? When I had this idea, mind you, I was in Jackson. I thought, I'm a non-technical founder. I sell tacos for a living. How am I supposed to come up with this startup, this tech startup? So I said, I need to be around smart people. Hey, there's this town called Ann Arbor, this city called Ann Arbor, that's full with a bunch of smart people. So we came over to Ann Arbor. I pitched my little idea to Spark and absolutely fell in love with everything about Spark. Spark has this program called Boot Camp, and right away, like my first weekend, they said, Kim, you're gonna go to Boot Camp. Has anybody heard of Spark's Boot Camp or participated in it? Yeah, it's a very cool program. You come with an idea, and they say, figure it out if it's an idea, if anybody will buy your product, and if they don't, then go on with your life and do something else. But if somebody will buy this, then we'll help you, produce that idea. So I went, figured that I had this idea, but part of boot camp, it was in November, and there was Accelerate Michigan. And so mind you, I just had an idea in my head, and I went to Accelerate Michigan. Now, if you're not familiar with Accelerate Michigan, it's in Detroit. And they give around $500,000 or $1 million in prizes to winners that pitch their ideas or their businesses that day. So I went to Accelerate Michigan in the back corner, didn't talk to anyone, with an idea in my head, and I thought, one day I'm gonna pitch at Accelerate Michigan, I'm gonna do this. So that was back in 2016. We decided after I went through boot camp that I did have an idea and that there were literally millions of people that would use our platform. And so we buckled down, invested, and started building our platform in January. We launched in June, and we actually had a 600 user goal in 2017, but we had 50,000 users of Mi Padrino last year. Thanks. But at the same time we buckled down and created our platform, I was going to get my tubes tied because I thought, there is no way in hell that I will be able to have a baby and do this. And guess what? The doctor said, come back in 9 months because you're pregnant. So, yeah. So then I get to my idea. Okay, so I know I threw these slides together, and obviously they didn't work. So I took my idea. Remember, we had a great user growth? Well, I went in November to Accelerate Michigan. I applied, got accepted 30 out of, there was I think 1,000 applicants, and I got to pitch. I was so excited, but there was no way that we would get anything from there. I mean, there was literally like rocket scientists, and I'm like this event planning app. We won $100,000 at Accelerate Michigan this year. So again, why am I telling you this story? It's more or less that a girl, a non-technical dreamer from Jackson, that's made a living selling tacos. In this city, you can have an idea, and it can be something that literally hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people will use, because there are amazing opportunities here. I would love to continue this conversation. We're actually housed now at Desai. We were approved and we're in their accelerator, which is on Liberty. And yeah, so I guess I'm just gonna leave you with one tip as a business owner. If you ever decide to follow your dreams, listen to yourself, listen to your customers or your users, love on your staff because they're the ones that are really gonna make it for you. And just follow your dreams. But if you're wondering what happened to that Ugo man that I mentioned at the beginning of my story, well, Ugo and I have been happily married for the last 16 years. So, thank you guys.